Hey guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel of PW MedEd. This is Dr. Ranjith, your pathology faculty at PW MedEd. So in this video, we have come up with a very important thing which is an essential resource for everyone preparing for your upcoming exams. That's to have a snapshot of what is happening in the past 2-3 years in the competitive exam space with respect to pathology, be it your NEET PG, be it your INICET or FMG. I personally feel that this is very important step because if you're going to prepare for an exam, let's say 1 year or 2 year down the road, you're in second year, third year, or intern or a post intern, you're going to sit for the exam. You need to know where to focus on. You cannot just search a needle in a haystack. It should be the focus and utmost thing in the previous year topics which gives you excellence in the exam hall, right? So that is the main reason of us creating this video. In this video, I'm going to discuss about what happened in the INICET November 2023, which just got over. And also we'll have a quick look of compare them into previous INICET, previous NEET PG, the important topics, the format of the questions, was there any change, and what to expect in the future exams, fine? So if you're ready for the game, as usual, put on a smile and let's start discussing. So if I take the INICET November 2023, I'm sure you must have got recall from all the nook and corners. There are recalls which are saying that like there are 30 plus questions in pathology. There are recalls which says that like there are 15 to 16 questions in pathology. So when I'm going to talk about the INICET November 2023, I'm going to purposefully ignore a few questions. For example, there's a question on the tombstone, row of tombstone appearance in a pemphigus vulgaris. I will leave it to dermatology. Though it has an histopathological finding, we read them in histopathology. I'll leave it to dermatology for now. There's a question on rhinosporidiosis with an histopathological image. Ideally, it has to be from pathology, but I'll leave it to ENT or your microbiology. There's a question on COVID. Ideally, it has to be from the pathology, where it's getting damaged. I'll leave it to medicine. There's a question on sickle cell anemia, the vaso-occlusive crisis, and the way to treat. You read them in pathology, but I would give it more to medicine. The reason why there is this amount of disturbance, why it's happening, like because all these questions are integrated medicine. So when you have a paper which is vertically integrated, you have a point from physiology, you have a point from pathology, you have a point from diagnostic radiology, and then a treatment of medicine. You really cannot segregate where it's going to fall. That's a reality. So whatever the exam is going to happen in future, next, which is said to be a clinical based scenario and clinical based exam, this is how it will be. It's not that I'm going to read anatomy, physiology, pathology, pharmacology, microbiology, medicine, surgery, OBG. It's that you're going to solve a patient diagnosis, that's a question. A patient management, that's a question, right? So we are in a good step, in a good path that we are going towards a patient diagnostic centric approach in an exam rather than have a factual exam. That's the best thing what I can get out of this INICET November 2023. So coming back to the original thing, if I take the hardcore pathology, I would say there were 17 questions in pathology, which are like not much of an overlap with other things. So 17 questions was there in pathology. Of these 17 questions, quite a few of them were image based. You had an image of direct immunofluorescence. You had an image of alveoli, right? You had an image of your a concept of osmotic fragility test, which also was a graphical representation of what we learned. You had an image of your ERP or HER2, immunohistochemistry. Lots of them were there, right? So there was quite a bit of an image there because pathology as such is a subject which is more colorful, maybe duochrome, more colorful, and it has more of images. So that trend has always been there, be it the past INICET exam or the past 2 years of NEET PG and NExT PG. At least like 30 to 40% of the questions with respect to pathology will be image based, if not more. Sometimes it becomes a little bit more as well, right? So if you are scared of an image based question in pathology, I would say don't be scared. Again, the fund of any image based question is try to understand the history, look at the options, solve the question, and then go to image for confirmation. Why I'm saying this with confidence is in a real life, you see the patient, you come to a diagnosis, then take a biopsy and then correlate. That's what happens. That's what you've been studied for in the past 4 years. That's 1 year of internship, right? For the past 5.5 years, you've been going through the same protocol, do the same protocol in an exam as well. So the image-based question might not be of a bigger concern for you, right? So overall, when you take this November 2023 INICET, I would say there's a little bit of emphasis on lymphomas, leukemias. Generally, pathology, especially in INICET, hematology will be given utmost importance. Little bit of less emphasis on leukemias, lymphomas this time, and also blood transfusion. Generally, if it's INICET or AIIMS exam, the emphasis on blood transfusion, the practical aspects of blood transfusion will be more focused on, which is not much focused on here, right? So I would just take it a little bit away from that. This was a bit of an unlikely thing for an AIMS to not ask any question on lymphoma, leukemia, and have very less involvement of your blood transfusion medicine. But if you look at the previous INICET, definitely there is a very good focus on hematology, especially leukemias, lymphomas, and your blood transfusion. This time we had questions more on RBCs and also in your like one bilirubin factor, the bleeding and coagulation things, right? So yes, there's a shift in the emphasis, but still hematology plays an important role. So if you look at INICET versus NEET PG or FMG, there's one thing which I feel there's a slight difference. If you're focusing on INICET, what you have to focus, and if you're focusing on NEET or FMG, the focus should be slightly different. Any exam in the past 3 years of NEET PG or FMG, there's a bit of more emphasis on general pathology. One question on genetics, neoplasia, a couple of them, immunology, hypersensitive reactions, a couple of them, your necrosis, inflammation, a couple of them. There's quite a bit of emphasis on in FMG as well as in NEET PG with respect to general pathology. Especially in the last NEET PG, there's quite a good number of questions which came from general pathology. In systemic pathology, the main problem is I cannot bifurcate and say this is from pathology. It's an integrated medicine, right? So yes, systemic pathology reading will help you maybe solve the parallel question which comes in the other subject vertical, like in medicine or the surgery. Will be a part of it, systemic pathology will be taken care of. So if you're preparing for any exam, I would still say emphasis more on general pathology. So you can take the major chunk of questions in NEET PG and FMG. INICET also has good number of questions in general pathology, but in INICET, the emphasis on hematology in the past few years has been consistently a bit higher. Maybe this time there's a bit sink. It is a bit less, not that much, and I would expect in an INICET exam, right? When you come to the pattern of questions, like we already discussed about IBQs, right? Image-based questions. Let's go with multiple other options. This INICET had two match the following, right? So one for the genes and one for the autosomal dominant inheritance. I feel that this is again a very, very adequate and the right step taken by INICET, because genes are very difficult to remember. Chromosomal numbers are very difficult to remember. Same goes with inheritance. If it's match the following, you always need not know all four of them. You know 2-3 of them, you can easily solve the match the following, right? So I hopefully believe that more of factual based questions will come in the MCQ format, the match the following format, rather than MCQ format. So that makes the life of a student much, much easier. It's a very welcome move. The same thing happened in the last NEET PG also, and I hope the same thing will continue forward as well. Sequential arrangement has not been asked in the past few years, so let's go a little bit away from it. Video based questions has not been asked in the past few years. Again, let's go a little bit away from it. Multiple right answers. Like there's a fact on, like say, Peutz-Jeghers syndrome. 4 or 5 facts given, 1 and 2 correct, 1, 2 and 3 correct, 3, 4 and 5 correct. This type of multiple options answer generally has been the dictum in INICET. This year with respect to pathology, they didn't have much. The reason why these are a bit difficult is in a multiple choice answering, you need to know everything about the disease, not just the important points. Generally, INICET used to have that. This year, they didn't have that. One thing I feel that the exam changed to block wise. Maybe that's the reason that they didn't focus much on the multiple answer options to make it a little bit less easy for the students. But if you're preparing for INICET, make sure the important PYTs read everything, not just the salient points. Fast revision might not work very well if you consider the multiple options answering, right? You need to have the conceptual understanding of the entire disease in order to answer them. There's very much there in INICET, not much so in NEET PG or FMG, fine? So that brings a complete overview of what you have to focus on in the upcoming exams of INICET or NExT or FMG or NEET PG. So if you have any more doubts with respect to pathology, put in the comment section below and I'll be more than happy to answer queries. See you soon. Till then, bye-bye from Dr. Ranjith. Bye-bye.